on the air tonight. Something crawls in the pale moonlight. Oh, turn on the radio, the Bruce Collins Show, the Bruce Collins Show, the Baron of Broadcasting. Oh, 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 the Bruce Collins Show. Chad Miles laughs, a wicked twisted sound. Aftermaths of souls that can't be found. Oh, turn on the radio, the Bruce Collins Show, the Bruce Collins Show, the Baron of Broadcasting. Oh, 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 the Bruce Collins Show. Chad Miles laughs, a wicked twisted sound. Aftermaths of souls that can't be found. Oh, turn on the radio, the Bruce Collins Show, the Bruce Collins Show, the Baron of Broadcasting. Oh, 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 the Bruce Collins Show.
Welcome back to the Bruce Collins Show. We're very glad to have you join us. Tonight we will be talking to James Bradley, the best-selling author of the book Flags of Our Fathers, which became a popular movie directed by Clint Eastwood. His current book is Precious Freedom, and I think you'll find our conversation stimulating. And now let me introduce you to my co-host, Chad Miles. Chad is a political advisor specializing in technology issues. He has consulted with numerous candidates at the local, state, and federal levels. In 2006, Chad ran for a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives in Michigan's 14th Congressional District. While the campaign was ultimately unsuccessful, the experience was invaluable. A native of Northeast Ohio, Chad volunteered for service in the Army in 1990. He served 7 years on active duty with the 82nd Airborne Division, 2nd Infantry Division, and the 5th Special Forces Group. Chad Miles starred in the feature film Aftermath Chernobyl. No makeup was required. Chad, welcome back.
Bruce, it's good to be back. Thanks.
Well, you know, Chad, people are enjoying that we're back. Many people have mentioned they're happy that you have returned to the show.
That's great.
No, it isn't. They should be thanking me, talking about my talent and my humility.
Bruce, I find you to be an opportunist and, quite frankly, very petty.
Chad, I appreciate the sentiments, but this is no time to get mushy.
Hey, by the way, I wanted to bring up something that just doesn't sit right with me.
Did you find out I submitted your name to Scientology?
No. Wait, what did you do?
Wait, what did I do?
No, it's the song, Bruce. Why do the lyrics say, Chad Miles laughs a wicked, twisted sound? What is that about?
It's called AI, Chad.
What does that mean?
You think I'm smart enough to write lyrics? I let Chat BBC do that.
You mean Chat GPT?
No, it's in English.
What?
Hey, by the way, you just reminded me I wanted to say thank you.
Why?
You alerted me to the spy at this radio station last week, remember?
No, that was a skit you shot down, remember?
I caught the guy.
You caught who?
You know, the spy. The old guy with the limp you warned me about last week.
Oh, please tell me you didn't.
I've got him right next to me, right here, tied to a chair.
Oh, no.
Can somebody help me get out of this chair?
You just sit right there, Mr. Spy.
What about my eye?
I said spy.
Bruce, you need to let him go.
What?
He said you need to let me go. Stop spying on me.
No, that's not what I said.
That's one loaf of bread?
No, he said that's not what you said.
No, what you said.
That's what I said.
That's the Grateful Dead?
All right, enough funny business. Let's get down to brass tacks.
Men's slacks?
Oh, you gotta let him go. Let him go.
Yeah, let me go.
No, not you.
Scooby-Doo?
Now that was a retort.
Huh?
Did you say Chad Miles report?
I think I heard that too.
The odometer spins like a clock on fire. Captain Doomsday preaching from a rusty wire. Headlines scream, they twist, they bend. The truth's a mirror that'll never mend. Chad Miles whispers, Chad Miles shouts. The world's a circus, full of doubts. Curated chaos, the news on repeat. The Chad Miles Report, where fiction meets the street. Spinning tales, breaking minds. The odometer ticks, truth's hard to find. Static buzzes through the midnight haze. Doomsday rants in his cryptic craze. Every mile a story, every spin a lie. A satellite blinks in the dying sky. Who's the captain? Who's the clown? Turn it up, turn it down. Words like thunder, truth like smoke. This report's the punchline of the joke. Curated chaos, the news on repeat. The Chad Miles Report, where fiction meets the street. Spinning tales, breaking minds. The odometer ticks, truth's hard to find. 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 Static buzzes through the midnight haze. Doomsday rants in his cryptic craze. Every mile a story, every spin a lie. A satellite blinks in the dying sky. Who's the captain? Who's the clown? Turn it up, turn it down. Words like thunder, truth like smoke. This report's the punchline of the joke.
And now it's time for the Chad Miles Report. Joining us is Christopher Cartwright, who's been on the show many times under many disguises. Before we start, Chad, and then I'll let you go loose, I saw a couple of interesting conspiracies on the internet lately. One started probably about 6 months ago, maybe more, maybe less, but it was on Facebook and Instagram. It was about the comet Atlas III. Did you see that? Some of
No.
the theories?
No.
Okay,
What are the
well-
theories?
Well, the major theory was it was a giant spaceship.
Okay.
And there were a lot of images that claimed to be leaked from the government. And it looked like a giant spaceship with a bunch of compartments and a lot of lights. And I don't know if it was a radar picture or what. It was kind of a bluish picture. And I saw it many times. It must be real. No, just kidding. But I saw it many
Obviously.
times. And so looking at all those compartments, I realized I knew what it was. And it made a lot of conspiracy people upset because it actually went right past the planet, didn't even stop. They didn't even come out and greet us or say anything.
Rude.
But I realized what the problem is. That was a public transportation. It had to be. So many people or aliens or whatever they were in that compartment, these compartments. It was a giant spaceship. Had to be public transportation. And I thought, you know why? You know why these things didn't land?
Why?
Because we're cracking down on illegal aliens.
Mm,
That's
it's so
what
obvious.
I thought.
It's
And
so
so
obvious.
that went away, that went by and the conspiracy people stopped looking into that. And now we've got a new one. Have you seen this? What's going to happen on August 12th?
The rapture?
No.
Oh.
This is a good one.
Okay,
This
what?
is excellent. I don't know where it's coming from. I wish I could identify where these rumors start, but I've seen it on Facebook. I put my finger right here so people could see the visual. I've seen it on Facebook and I've seen it on Instagram. Maybe I should have done that, not this. But I saw it on Instagram and Facebook. And what's going to happen on August 12th, 2026 is the Earth is going to lose its gravitational pull. And for 7 seconds, you're on your own. And they've even made visuals of this, people floating up into the sky, cars going up into the sky. And they say that the government knows about it, but isn't going to tell us. Or at least not yet, they haven't told us. And so my theory about that is this. I think it's hogwash. I think it's fake. Coincidentally, my cat and I are going to be camping under the kitchen sink that day. Isn't that crazy? What
Is that a real
coincidence.
theory, like a
Yes.
conspiracy theory?
Yeah, I
Yes,
heard it
it's
too.
all over Facebook and Instagram and anywhere else.
The Earth is going to lose its gravity
Yeah,
for 7 minutes.
7 seconds.
7 seconds.
So those next door neighbors, they don't have a time yet. I don't think. I haven't seen what time it's going to happen. But those neighbors you don't like, invite them over for a barbecue, and then
That's-
don't open the door.
That's an oddly
And then you won't have to
weird.
cook.
That's an oddly weird and specific
Yeah.
conspiracy theory.
Well, if I find out more details, you'll be the first to know.
Please let me know.
Okay, Chad, it's all yours. Take us away with the Chad Miles Report.
Okay. Article number 2. After a romantic relationship ended, Evan Collins is this a relation to you, Bruce?
No comment.
Okay. Of Burnaby, British Columbia, just needed to do something with it, they said. Thus was born the Museum of Personal Failure at the Kingsgate Mall in Vancouver. United Press International reported that Collins posted signs around the region seeking exhibits with the headline, "Failures Wanted." The museum has a wall of reject with job application rejections and firing notices. A knife maker, Lynn Valley Forge, donated a knife he had made that was unable to be sharpened because of the chemical properties in an oil he used. That's sad.
Yeah.
Also on display are tie rods from a failed car repair, failed songs from a local music producer, and Collins's mother's wedding gown, which she named Threads of Innocence.
Wow.
That's from
Hey,
UPI.
you know what? I think I've been to this place before. Oh,
I
no,
should
wait.
have my
That's
own
the
exhibit.
Salvation Army.
I should have my own exhibit here, maybe several.
The ultimate failure when a Van's company goes bankrupt because nobody went to the museum.
The failure of the failures.
I mean, I would think that would be a horrible thing to have your kids aspire to. Hey, kids, we're going to the Failure Museum.
The
Does he
vacuum
actually
exhibit
pay
is
the
number one.
customers to go? Like, it doesn't say how much it is.
We
And
need
I
a,
guess people just donate their junk. They say, this is a failure. They tell them a story, like they want to get rid of this piece of garbage they can't just put in a hefty bag. So they say, hey, you know what this is? This is my failure. Would you take it and put it in the museum?
hey, check this out.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a suggestion for the show, Bruce. You need a little rim shot sound
Yeah.
effect. All right. Article number 4.
Number 3.
Article number 3. I'm in the museum, man. I'm a failure.
Add it to the museum.
Yeah. Put this recording there. CNN reported on January 23rd that in advance of the winter storm affecting much of the nation, FEMA was warned not to use the word ice in any of their messaging or signage because doing so could spark confusion or online mockery. That's where we are in the U.S. these days.
As a society.
The Department of Homeland Security allegedly delivered the directive on January 22nd. However, FEMA spokesperson said in a statement, FEMA will use correct and accurate descriptors of weather conditions to communicate clearly to the American people. That's from CNN.
And in all seriousness, I've seen recent articles about this, and they think they were going to go with the term freezing rain, for real, freezing rain. And so I propose, I'm going to write a letter to President Trump. I propose that we change the name of ICE. Let's call it Partly Sunny and put a big smiley face on the front. Hey, it's partly sunny. We're here to pick up the murderer.
It's so crazy, it just might work.
Who would get mad at Partly Sunny?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Only a failure in the
Yeah.
museum would do that.
Exactly.
Article number 4.
Hey, look, I got a cat. Okay, that was a surprise, wasn't it? Okay, Article 4.
A chain pub in Tokyo called Toriyaro has drawn a line in the sand. No geezers are welcome at their Shibuya location. Japan Today reported on January 25th, so I guess I can't ever go there. A posted sign reads, "This is a zakaya," or Japanese for pub, for younger generations. Pub for under 40 only. The sign goes on to specify that as long as one person in the group is 39 years old or under, others will be admitted with them. With older customers, they tend to make a lot of complaints about the restaurant being too noisy and such, so we decided to limit who's coming in, said Toshiru Nagano, a PR spokesperson for the chain. But here's the secret. Toriyaro will admit over 40s who are okay with the noise level and have the spirit of a 20-something. That's according to Japan Today.
Do you like disco? You come in. No, but in all seriousness, I used to work for Applied Materials, semiconductor company, and they were going to merge with Tokyo Electron. And unfortunately, several months later, the United States, well, maybe fortunately, I don't know. The United States anyways wouldn't let it go through because it would be a monopoly. And but we had to take training, every single American employee. And Japanese culture is very much dedicated to respecting their elders. I'm shocked that there's a pub there that was discriminating against it. Not that, I mean, people will live if they don't go to the pub, but I'm just surprised that this is coming from Japan. I would expect it from somewhere else, but not Japan.
Yeah, the Japanese are very culturally homogenous and unique in the world today.
Yes, they are.
In a good way.
I'm offended that the age is under 40.
Yeah.
I'm 45 now, and I'm not old.
You're a geezer. You're a geezer.
45 seems young to me.
We're all geezers. We're failures. Let's go to the museum. Pack it up, guys.
That's right.
Article number 5. First, we had to be afraid that students would use AI to write papers and otherwise cheat their way through school. Now, NBC News reported on January 28th, AI is helping students dumb down their work so that it's more believably original. New generative AI tools, some costing about $20 per month, humanize text so that it doesn't seem to be created by AI. But there's more. Other software will detect text that has been reviewed by a humanizer. So where are we? We're just in a spiral that will never end, said Aaron Ramirez, an associated professor of education at California State University. Alden Creo, a graduate student from Spain, said he sometimes turns in his original work with a few misspelled words or using Spanish structures that aren't
That's
proper
insane.
English, just so he won't be accused of using AI. Long term, I think it's going to be a big problem. he said. And that's according to NBC News.
Yeah, a lot of companies are catching people. I don't know if they have trained experts or something that are using AI. And so this is actually a problem that corporations are having. Um, it's interesting because if it dumbs it down, then is that a more attractive candidate by misspelled words and things like that? And I've even heard they have another level below the dumbing down one. It's called Tim Walls AI, where if you put in, your whole resume, it'll just spit out the word, "I like eggs."
You have to go to the museum to get that one.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say what we call Tim Walls nowadays. It's not
Moving
very
on,
nice.
article number 6. That'll be a mystery. Having a Super Bowl
You
party?
don't know what people have been yelling at Tim Walls?
Apparently not.
Okay. Do you know, Christopher?
No.
Is it
Oh.
vulgar?
Well, it's not vulgar, but it's insensitive to a certain group. I'll say the modern term, mentally challenged. Starts with an R.
Oh, okay.
Because President Trump called him that. And
Really?
so there's people on social media that are driving by the governor's mansion yelling that word
Oh, boy.
in Minnesota.
That's crazy.
As if Minnesota didn't have enough problems.
Right, boy. Article number 6. Having a Super Bowl party? You need this. Heinz revealed on January 27th the Kegchup.
Kegchup.
Kegchup, Kegchup, a 19.5-inch tall dispenser full of 114 ounces of that beloved sweet red condiment. KTLA TV reported that Heinz is hoping to stave off the horror of running out of ketchup at football parties.
Well, that would
Jamie
be a
Mack,
horror.
Associated Director of Brand Communication for Heinz USA, said the Kegchup is the ultimate game day companion that gives people the freedom to dip responsibly.
I thought the horror was going to be watching the halftime show this year.
I think it's a package deal. I think the whole thing's a horror. Fans entered to win the Kegchup, and if you missed the contest, you can still sign up for news and updates at HeinzKegchup.com. That's from KTLA.
And next, the mustard missile. No. Have you seen the Kegchup?
No.
It looks like a beer keg. You can look it up and see. It's
Really?
like a tiny beer keg. And so you have to wonder if, people at some Super Bowl parties getting all sauced up might think that's alcohol. Where's the ketchup? So-and-so in the corner just drank the whole thing.
The Kegchup.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in a lot of marketing meetings in my life.
I thought you were going to say you used a lot of ketchup.
I've drank a lot of ketchup kegs in my life. I've been in a lot of marketing meetings in my life, and somebody pitched this idea at a meeting, and a bunch of people around a conference room table said, yeah, I think we'll do the Kegchup. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then
That's
it failed.
crazy to me. Well, we'll see.
I don't
Maybe
know.
not.
I mean, maybe some people will buy it. I don't need that much ketchup in my lifetime, but if you had a big family or a giant party or something, maybe large barrels of ketchup are in the works for you.
We're going to need more fries, boys.
Yeah, weird. Anyway, Chad, thank you so much for the Chad Miles report.
You're more than welcome, Bruce. Thank you for having me.
Our guest tonight is James Bradley. James Bradley is the author of Precious Freedom, a novel. He is the New York Times #1 best-selling author of Flags of Our Fathers, which became a feature film directed by Clint Eastwood. He's also the author of Fly Boys, The Imperial Cruise, and The China Mirage. Again, his latest book is Precious Freedom. I'm going to show you a copy of it. It's also the background of James's set right there. But here it is, Precious Freedom, a novel by James Bradley. James Bradley, welcome to the Bruce Collins Show.
Bruce, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Now, one of the things I found out about you is your life has been as interesting as your books. Can you touch on some of the events in your life that would ultimately lead you to become an author?
You know, I grew up with one of the guys who helped raise the flags on Iwo Jima. So there's a scene in the movie Flags of Our Fathers where the Bradley family is eating in Antigo, Wisconsin, and the phone rings, and an actor playing me, 13-year-old me, gets up, and it's Walter Cronkite's producers calling from New York from my father. And I say, "Oh, no, he's not here." But he's right there at the table eating his Campbell soup. "No, sir. No, no, no. He's in Canada fishing. No, we don't know when he's coming home. No, he doesn't have a telephone. He's in an ice shack." "Okay," click, and then I'd go back and eat. The point is, we didn't discuss that because we had all been trained when the media calls, this is what you say, the dad's fishing in Canada. And we didn't know why, Iwo Jima flag raising, we didn't, we were kids. We were thinking of the football game. We weren't thinking about my father. So I grew up with a guy who the media was looked at all that time. Then accidentally, I went to school in Japan. So my dad, when he went to Japan, he had to shoot a Japanese who were shooting at him. Then he has a son who goes to Japan and goes to school and has a Japanese girlfriend. I brought my Japanese girlfriend home, and she said, "You must be uncomfortable, Mr. Bradley. I saw the statue in Arlington, and you're a symbol of fighting the Japanese." And he said, "Emmy, you come in, we're having dinner, you sit at our table, we love you, you're part of the family." So I thought I was going to be a businessman, but I had a kind of a crack in realizing by the time at 36 I wasn't a good businessman. I sold my company and I went to the most spiritual place I could think of, Mount Everest Base Camp. This was back when not many people made it up there before the tourists hit. And I said, "I'm not coming back down till I figure out what to do." And I found a book up there. Now, just a minute. There's no books up at Mount Everest. You can hardly breathe.
Yeah.
Nobody's reading up there. And I found a book on a shelf in this greasy tea hut, and it was slammed against the wall. You couldn't even see it was a book. It was all greasy with smoke, it had smoke encrusted. And I pulled this paperback book out of the wall, and it was a book by Dick Francis, #1 jockey, horse racing author in England, Queen Elizabeth's favorite author. And it was him writing about how you could become an author. And he said, "I broke my leg as a jockey and I picked up a pen and I became a best-selling author." And I thought, well, I'm up at Mount Everest and here's a book saying be an author. So I guess I should become an author. So it only took me 10 years and going broke and struggling. And I had 27 turndowns on Flags of Our Fathers. 27 publishers wrote me a letter over a period of 26 months that said Flags of Our Fathers would never work. And it was New York Times #1 the week it was out, and Steven Spielberg bought the movie. So that's how I became an author.
Fascinating. Um, the thought occurs to me when we talk about filmmaking. I interviewed a gentleman years ago. I was on AM radio at the time, and he had written the book that became the movie October Sky. And in one scene, he's at a school. They were creating projects, and he won a prize, a fair. And he was walking through the audience, and Werner von Braun came up to him and shook his hand. And he didn't know who he was. And as he's walking away from this gentleman, somebody stops him and says, "Do you know who that was? That was Werner von Braun." I asked him about that scene, and actually that never happened. It was the director said, "I want to give you the chance to meet your childhood idol." So were there very many liberties taken in Flags of Our Fathers, the movie?
Wasn't that book called Rocket Man or something?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, no, that was big when I was writing Flags of Our Fathers. I remember that. Liberties with movies. Okay, you've got to give the filmmaker a break. I'm an author. So if you buy a book that I wrote, you'll give me 15 hours, 18 hours, 22 hours to develop a character, the scenes, the feeling over time. When you buy a movie ticket, you'll only give the filmmaker 2 hours to tell the whole story. So of course they have to compress things. you know? And of course, it's not. People always say, oh, I like the book better than the movie. That's because you spend 20 hours with the book and the
Yeah.
book can, has more opportunity to develop. But no, there weren't big liberties taken. But, as I say, you got to smush it together when you make the movie.
Yeah. And again, we're speaking with James Bradley, the author of the new book, Precious Freedom. In Flags of Our Fathers, the Iwo Jima flag raising became a symbol, but the men behind it were deeply uncomfortable with that fame. What did that teach you about how America creates heroes?
Well, it wasn't so much they were uncomfortable with the fame. It was that anybody is uncomfortable with the fame. You go to a battle and your buddies got killed and you come back and there's starlets applauding you. It didn't make any sense. They weren't uncomfortable with the, with that specific thing. It was just, what did I do? They felt, I just lost my buddies. My dad held his best friend in his arms as he died, My friend of my father was tortured to death for 3 days in an underground cave. Then all of a sudden you're a hero, It didn't compute. And once the Bond tour was finished that these guys went on as heroes, they thought, everybody would forget the photo. But the photo has lived on to become the single most reproduced photo in history.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Americans struggle with the idea that the good guys can also do troubling things?
Yeah, I guess so. See, I went to school in Japan and I hitchhiked around the world when I was 21. And I've got a world view. My mother said all war is civil war because we're fighting each other. So I just look at it black and white. Like Iwo Jima, America won. And I wrote the facts. And then the Vietnam War, America lost. So I went to Vietnam and I asked the winners, how did you win? And if Americans have trouble with that, I don't get it. When I was a kid, I caddied for Vince Lombardi. And if the Packers won or if they lost, we analyzed, what happened and just looked it square in the face. So, I just write what happened. And if people have trouble with it, that's their problem.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. So how does myth making affect the way we send future generations into war?
Well, we go to war. How does myth making affect? It's a myth, the idea of heroism and the beauty of battle is a myth. And then everybody that comes back talks about how horrible it is, and it often scars their life. So, I would like us to have fewer veterans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would like fewer people going off to war and fewer veterans suffering from PTSD.
So you've written these many great books, best-selling books. Again, we're speaking with James Bradley. You've written Flags of Our Fathers, Flyboys, the Imperial Cruise, and now Precious Freedom. After living with these stories for so long, has your definition of patriotism changed?
No, it's just if you look, if only an American can be a patriot. I went to Vietnam and the Vietnamese who were fighting us, they were patriots to their country. If you go to Russia and China and turn on the TV, it's the same as American TV. Russia's the best country in the world. China's the best country in the world. We're in the right, and every country, consolidates its media and has its, its own propaganda. So everybody's a patriot if you're fighting for your home and your mother and father.
And everybody has a different perspective too. So
yeah, but
there's that.
The thing is, I went to Vietnam and the Vietnamese told me, see, I went there thinking I was going to learn about communism. They fought for communism because Walter Cronkite told me when I was a kid, communist forces in Vietnam today, communist forces advance. Ken Burns' documentary, communist. I went to Vietnam and the veterans told me, communism, democracy. I didn't know anything about that stuff. I saw an American soldier come in my yard and shoot my dad in the head, and that's all I had to know about politics.
Yeah. So let's talk about your latest book, Precious Freedom. Can you explain the type of research that went into this book?
This was bizarre. I wrote 4 books about the Pacific, about America in the Pacific. And I thought, I have to top it off with a book on Vietnam. So I scheduled 3 years in Vietnam to figure it out. Bruce, it took me 10 years. And the
Wow.
reason is it took me about 5 years to take all the propaganda out of my head that that Americans are still being told. I'll give you one example. I go into this house and this 85-year-old man says, Mr. Bradley, look at your feet. And I looked at my feet. He says, your feet are in Vietnam, right? And I said, yes. And he said, when your brother fought here, he thought that was America. That's the base your brother served on. My house sits on top of that. Mr. Bradley, you drew a line across our country and you said there was a North Vietnam and a South Vietnam. We never thought that way. That was made up by the New York Times, by the CIA. I said, what? He said, my uncle, lived across the border. I never thought I needed a visa to go to another country. Mr. Bradley, when the French came, they called us Indo-Chinese. What's an Indo-Chinese? I was a Vietnamese. Then the Americans came and they said, you're a South Vietnamese. We never thought that way. Bruce, I went back to my hotel room and thought, every documentary that starts, there's a North Vietnam and a South Vietnam, that was made up in America. The Vietnamese didn't see it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say in your book, Precious Freedom, I've been reading this book by James Bradley. America really wanted two countries, didn't they?
That was what, if you listen to what Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon and Ford said, they were fighting for two countries, but Vietnam only saw one. North Vietnam did not invade South Vietnam. They were all one. But America in South Vietnam, looked at the Vietnamese civilians and thought, they're probably on our side. They want to be just like us. But in their hearts, the Vietnamese were totally against us. Bruce, and the other thing I found surprising, two things. Number one, General Giap, we say it's GIAP. He's the number one most winning general of the 20th century. He beat the Japanese, the French, and the Americans and the Chinese. And he published books in the 60s about their strategy. Americans could have read the Vietnamese strategy of how they're going to get beat, but we wouldn't allow those books in. And then I found that U.S. Commandant David Shoup, Commandant of the United States Marine Corps, when Johnson went into Vietnam, Shoup took his uniform off and went cross-country giving speeches. He said, my Marines cannot win in Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh is the George Washington of Vietnam. He said, there's only one Vietnam, and we're being lied to. And I was shocked because I watched everything I could about Vietnam as a teenager on TV. I never saw the Commandant of the Marine Corps saying the Marines couldn't win. This was all suppressed. But the truth was out there. The propaganda was too heavy and we weren't allowed the truth.
I've never been to Vietnam, but I've seen plenty of expats on YouTube who are there, and it appears that the Vietnamese don't harbor any resentment toward Americans.
It's amazing. We killed 3 million Vietnamese, Agent Orange, napalm. And you go to Vietnam, and Americans are the most popular foreigners. And I've been told, you'll see in the book over and over and over, that Uncle Ho said, don't hate the Americans. And the Vietnamese were like, what do you mean don't hate the Americans? They just bulldozed my home. They just shot my dad. Ho Chi Minh said, no, 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 no. The American soldier is just like you. He doesn't want to be in the jungle fighting you. His government, he's a victim of his government. He said, you are a victim of the U.S. government and the American soldier is, and we have to have empathy with them. And we want to be friends with America after we kick them out. This is true, Bruce. And it wasn't just nice talk, it was Ho Chi Minh. See, Ho Chi Minh, what if he had done some terrorism in Chicago, exploded a bomb in Seattle, quartered Americans on film and cut them up and tortured them and we would harbor a bad feeling. But Ho Chi Minh said, no, 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 no. we're going to kick them out, and then we're going to be best friends with Americans. And they are. Bruce, Vietnam, people think, oh, Vietnam, that's a sad chapter in American. I don't know. I got such a positive feeling in Vietnam. They are winners. Their economy is growing like 8 to 10% a year. It is a very beautiful country. The people are very welcoming. I encourage anyone to go to Vietnam and get a very different idea.
Mhm. Now, we seem to, as Americans, and I'm patriotic also. I love this country, but we do seem to develop narratives around war to sort of rally the taxpayers. And a few years back, I supported this man over my shoulder. His name's Ron Paul, who had a non-interventionist, policy. Is that one that you would subscribe to? Obviously we should defend our country, but what do you think about the sort of interventionist policy that many in Washington have?
Dr. Ron Paul, I listen to him every single day, 5 days a week, Liberty Report with Daniel McAdams. And the word you used is defense. We should defend our country. Yes, we should defend our country, but we don't have a Department of Defense. We have a Department of Offense, and we have 1,000 bases around the world. That's what Ron Paul is talking about. Bombing Iranians. I lived in Iran. I lived in Afghanistan. I lived in Vietnam, China. These are not our enemies. The Iranians are not coming to bomb us. The Chinese are not in San Francisco Bay. But we have 1,000 bases around the world. And that's what Ron Paul is talking about. Bring the troops home. And of course, if we're ever invaded, we need defense. But that's not what we have right now. Right now, we have a Department of Offense that's costing us well over $1 trillion. And I really respect you, Bruce, for bringing up Dr. Paul. And I recommend anyone to listen to Dr. Paul's daily podcast, The Liberty Report.
Excellent. And again, we're speaking to James Bradley. He's the author of Precious Freedom. Now, look here. This is obviously a very thick book. We can't get through it today, all of it. So, obviously. So, that's why I would recommend it. But as far as the book, Precious Freedom, what are the key takeaways that you would want readers to know?
First of all, I want your listeners to know that I have done thousands of interviews in my career, and very few interviewers actually read and have the book of the author. So you're lucky to have Bruce Collins guiding you, and I'm very impressed. Number one. Number two, takeaways. The name of the book is Precious Freedom. And this took me a long time to realize this. It's a quote that I heard over and over and over from the Vietnamese who fought. They would, talk about some terrible battle. One woman has 4 bullets in her spine, napalm. And I said, how did you get through all this? And over and over, they said, Uncle Ho said, keep going. There's nothing more precious than freedom. And that's not just a saying, Bruce. What Uncle Ho did was he got war down to a moral point, a fine point. You fight, this is about freedom. Your family gets wiped out, your home you keep going. This is about precious free. There's nothing more And if you look in the book, President Johnson and Nixon, they could never define what the war was about. And we had 500,000 American boys in Vietnam. And the question was always, why are we fighting? And Johnson, to prevent nuclear war, we're fighting for democracy. We're fighting because China's going to come. The domino, we had 35 different reasons for why we're fighting. Ho Chi Minh got it down to 1. And in the end, if you ask boys to go out and fight for 10 years, you gotta be on the right side of the moral case, or else the humans can't keep going. And Ho Chi Minh boiled it down to precious freedom.
And we should say, you mentioned your older brother earlier, but he was in the Marines in Vietnam. And of course, your father was at Iwo Jima, raised the flag. And one thing that I think about is during this interview is Eisenhower's last State of the Union. He talked about the military-industrial complex. Do you think that the military-industrial complex largely governs our Democrats and Republicans?
Oh, yeah, it's big business, and you know, you have to, the military industrial complex is not the military, it's the money. And, just think about this. George Washington was a general. He, in his final address, he said, don't get involved with other countries, entangling alliances. Stay in America. George Washington said, America first.
Yeah.
And then Dwight D. Eisenhower, this was a five-star general who ran World War II in Europe. He thinks there's a book about this, Bruce. He spent 3 years writing that speech. 3 years.
Wow.
He invited commentary, and you can see in the archives him crossing out and rewriting. And so why would he talk about that subject? He said that the military industrial complex is going to infect everything in America if we don't watch out. And we didn't watch out. John Kennedy said we're not going to ramp up Vietnam. And he got a bullet right here, and it came out the back of his head. 1 month after Kennedy got killed, there was a Christmas party in the White House, December 1963. President Johnson had his scotch, and he said to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, you give me my election, and I'll give you your wall.
Yeah, that says a lot. And to this day, I mean, speaking of cover-ups, to this day, do we really know what happened to John F. Kennedy and who actually killed him?
I know what happened to him, but the point when you say we, it's like, will the government admit it?
Yeah.
No. The government is not going to investigate itself about COVID or about why we lost in Afghanistan or why they're not going to arrest themselves.
Mhm.
And, people say, oh, wow, how did we lose in Afghanistan 20 years? Hey, all those generals got promoted. People say, oh, we didn't learn the lessons of Vietnam. No, we didn't. The General Westmoreland lost with the Tet Offensive, and he got promoted. He got, he had a pension. The generals who ran Afghanistan and Iraq, they're on golf courses and beautiful homes, working they're on boards of directors. They're having a great life. The lesson of Vietnam was that it was a profit center.
Yeah. So last question, let's do a current events issue. And speaking of President Trump's Board of Peace, what do you think the implications are for the United States, the Middle East, Russia, and beyond?
Bruce, that's too ridiculous, the Board of Peace. I mean, we're going to kill 70,000 Palestinians. That's a number from the Israeli Defense Force. I didn't make it up. 70,000 Palestinians, and then put a beautiful city on top of their graves. And then there's going to be peace because we need a development. I mean, this is screwed up thinking, and it's not going to work. I think it's bored of peace. They are bored of peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it totally, I'm not in America. I'm pretty far away from America. I'm living on the island of Mauritius. But from this angle, that Board of Peace just looks like a huge propaganda effort, and it doesn't make sense at the human level.
Yeah. So at the very least, it's just going to be a failure, and wars will continue.
We have to listen to people. People make history, and people make, there's a bunch of people there called Palestinians, and apparently they're not going to give up. People don't give up their mothers and fathers' homes, So I don't know. I'm not an expert on that area, but it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense. What I would prefer is that Donald Trump and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are having meetings about how to rebuild Chicago and how to put a clean subway system in America. And why don't we have bullet trains going from Los Angeles to New York and Miami to Seattle? Where's the infrastructure in America? That's the board we need. And it's the Ron Paul message. Come home, America, and take care of America.
Yeah. Ron Paul used to say, you can't spread freedom through the barrel of a gun. You do it by setting a good example.
Yes, sir. I'm afraid there's going to be another false flag, and Americans will get excited again and send young kids off to war. On the back of my book is a quote by Oliver Stone, who was a veteran of Vietnam and a great filmmaker. And he said, if Americans knew in 1969 what Bradley reveals happened in 1969 in Vietnam, they would have stopped the war, and mothers would not have given their sons to Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, it's really shocking what happened. I reveal that civilians pushed my brother's Marines out of Vietnam in 1969. You can see it in the book. Girls in sandals. You know, it wasn't the Vietnamese army. Civilians fighting for their home kicked my brother's Marines out of this part of Vietnam. So we have to learn that people will fight for freedom. We will fight for freedom in the Revolutionary War, and everybody else, you know, are just humans, and they will fight for their own freedom, precious freedom.
That's right. Again, we've been speaking with James Bradley. He's the author of the book Precious Freedom, a novel. I recommend it. It's great. You need to get it, and some of James Bradley's other books. Mr. Bradley, this has been a real honor. I hope I can have you back someday.
Be happy to come back, and I really meant what I said about you actually having gone through the book. It's rare to have that experience, and I really appreciate you, Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this week. I hope you can return and join us again next time. In the meantime, if you can, please subscribe to The Bruce Collins Show on YouTube, and you can join us on the Bruce Collins Show Facebook page. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Dream everlasting.
That's a wrap, falafelites. This has been a Bad Yodeler production. Good night.